Welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport.
Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport and a look at the effects of recent events on the teams of Formula 1. I came across an interesting news story saying that Williams and Racing Point may be in financial crisis. According to Helmut Marko, Red Bull's advisor, the cancellation of 5 races has cost the teams $100 million, which for the smaller teams is a pretty hefty financial burden. In fact, for all the teams, you can't consider that fun. But with the first race of the season set to be the Canadian Grand Prix, set to race in mid-June but in no way a certainty, further postponements and cancellations could occur and therefore presumably further financial impact. The sponsors are not going to pay if their brand isn't being shown to audiences around the world, and as this is a money sport, this is a huge problem. They have called on Liberty Media to do more to protect the smaller teams currently in Formula 1 and to protect Formula 1 from further issues. If we lose Racing Point and Williams, along with the rumours Renault are considering their position on Formula 1, as well as Haas saying they are not guaranteed to be in the sport next year, potentially 2021 could kick off with just 6 teams and 12 cars. And with the new rules also being delayed a further year, there may not be much reason to tune in for Formula 1 in 2021. I'm sure Liberty Media won't let it go that far, and plans will be in place in case the worst case scenario does come to fruition. But what about the teams outside of Formula 1? If the big boys are struggling, what about the smaller teams further down the chain? What about motorsport that brings in smaller sponsors and smaller crowds, where the cash flow is already a lot smaller? Are they in danger too? And can the FIA help all of them? Surely some teams and drivers are now going to disappear forever. There is not enough money to help all of them. Motorsport as we know it may have already come to an end in 2019. Now, moving on to the Formula 1 season itself, as I said, it has been cancelled or postponed up to the Canadian Grand Prix. That takes place on the 14th of June, and can we say for certain that race will go ahead? Absolutely not. I think it is actually more likely to be cancelled. Nor do I think any of the races that have been postponed will run. There simply isn't time. I think optimistically the season will start in Hungary in August with a short 10-round season. So what do you do with a 10-race season? Well, I have some thoughts. They're crazy and 100% will not be implemented. But this is what I would like to see happen with Formula 1 in 2020. A single crazy season to bring light to the darkness. Change the first. Move to a 2-race weekend system. Split the race in half and have 2 races every weekend. Boom! 20 races. Kimi Räikkönen can still break the record for most race starts. We get to see something unique and different. Everyone wins. So instead of 60 laps, I would have 2 30-lap races, separated by the usual support races. I would have a qualifying session to decide the grid for the first race, and then race 2 will be a reverse grid situation. This gives a chance at glory for some different teams, as well as the drivers as well. Also, we could see interesting strategies implemented. Maybe if Max Verstappen had a bad go of it in the first race, he could decide of his own accord to drop down the field and get a better place on the grid for the second race. Can you imagine watching a race where Hamilton is fighting his way past Williams, Racing Points and Alfa Romeos to desperately try and get in the points? It would bring more action, more chaos and more entertainment. Something we are all desperate for in these trying times. Change for second. If you can't send Formula 1 to some of the tracks that have cancelled simply because there is not enough time in the year to do it, before we reset and forget this terrible year ever happened, then have Formula 2 and Formula 3 races at those tracks instead. We all wanted to see the new Zandvoort in action, but if Formula 1 can't get there, run a Formula 2 race there. Evenly distribute it. The support races at both can be linked up with national championships or world touring cars or whatever race series happens to be set at the same place at the same time. But this way we can get to see all the tracks. I mean, probably not Vietnam because it is a street circuit and it's probably not possible to rearrange it, but for everything else, mix it up a bit. If you are someone like me who does watch Formula 2 and 3, it will be really cool to see them at a different circuit to Formula 1 for a year. Change the third, and this is purely mental and will never happen, and honestly doesn't make much sense, but just for the fans, organise a Formula 1 versus Formula E special event, kind of like the DTM X Super GT race we saw last year. The stats do not add up. The cars are not close enough to make this a fair race. In fact, Formula 1 cars are way faster and not designed to be slowed down. It wouldn't work, but maybe run a special Formula 1 race with Formula E cars where the Formula 1 cars have to catch them over a short sprint race. Now, it definitely wouldn't work, will never happen, but it would be cool. Maybe do an esport race of it. Actually, forget it, it's lame. So that is everything for this week. Still missing the racing badly, but it is more important to stay safe right now. I hope we get through this and Williams and Racing Point remain intact. I don't want them to disappear from the grid. If Lance Stroll goes, who will I make fun of constantly? If you have any ideas for what Formula 1 should do for a short 2020 season, leave them in the comments below. Remember to subscribe, hit the bell, smash the thumbs up, buy a puppy. Stay inside, stay healthy, and have a good one.